love that we can all gather together for Brendan and remember him, because I don't ever want anybody to forget him.
That he is definitely watching over every single one of you, and he cares a lot. But I just want to say, suicide is a really serious issue. If you're ever feeling something like someone who's committing, someone who's feeling that way, suicidal, anything, or depression, please contact or please tell like a school social worker, because this needs to stop. And suicide is not the answer. And Brandon loves every single one of you.
Going through so much stuff, and I would definitely reach out to him and try to help him. So all I can do now is, I put my pain into this song, and I hope you enjoy the song. Brendan, we love you, we'll miss you. Touched us and we will pray for you. So when I do see somebody who's struggling and who needs help, like, it's not like, man, you only help people you know. Like, we know everybody. We should be caring about everybody. And I don't know, maybe like when you think of Brendan, remember that. Like, there's somebody out there that just kind of needs a little bit of help, a little bit of attention, a little bit of kindness, just a hello. And what a great tribute to kind of his life, if because of thinking about him, when you saw people in need, you're like, yeah, well, I don't know this person, but we're all kind of related. Everybody matters. Everybody's important. And you just kind of lift that person up. I'd also just say this, like, let's think more about Brendan's life than his death. Yeah, I mean, we gotta remember and be honest about everything, but how about this? I'm not going to ask people to kind of get up and speak, but how many people here knew Brendan? Raise your hand. Wow. All right, why don't we do this? Give me a word. Just throw out, each of you, or as many of you want, throw out a word that described something about Brendan that made him shine bright.
Funny.
Passionate drama.
He loved his mother.
His bicycle skill.
Yeah.
Entertainer.
What'd you say? His wit?
It's funny.
He put everybody before himself.
Yeah. Gentle spirit. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. This was for Brendan.
I am proud that we are going to dedicate our show today to the memory of Brendan Carr. Brendan was a terrific young man. Took his life 2 years ago today, 13 years old. And that's a picture of Brendan and his loving mom, Julie, together. And one of the people who was instrumental in Brendan's life was Benoit. Benoit was his mentor, his music teacher, and meant a lot to both Brendan and Julie. So, Benoit, what does this day mean to you? 2 years ago, we lost this special young man.
Oh man, it's a sad day. It's a meaningful day, and Brendan was a very special kid and very intelligent, very talented, and I wish I was more of a mentor to him. I actually, we only really worked together for a short period of time, but that period of time was an incredible period of time, and he had a lot of heart. Everybody liked him.
He played the drums really well, and you know, our friend Mitch constructed those the sculpture art near Riverside in that little garden. He has a drum set for Brendan, so if anybody wants to pay respect to Brendan over there, or at his bench, which is west of Magnolia, there's a bench for him that Julie dedicated to Brendan. You know, it's incredible. Suicide is such a horrible thing, and Julie and I are friends from, you know, the neighborhood, from working together in the arts, the film festival, Arts in the Plaza, and just in my studio. I remember the first time I had invited her and Brendan to come into the studio to jam and just to see what kind of musical interest that he had. And we played some music together. I remember that day very vividly. We had a great time. And then he started coming to play with a band called Awkward Silence, and they were young kids, and we used to play together with that band and performed at the Hub and some other venues, Arts in the Plaza around town. So, you know, I know he was switching schools, and he was a little bit under pressure there, and there was some bullying going on, and you know, he was sad, but you know, nobody really knew how sad, you know. And it's September, it's Suicide Awareness Month, and it's important that, you know, people communicate, reach out to each other, make sure that they're doing okay, and you know, to try to prevent suicide, you know.
Absolutely, and Benoit, shortly after we lost Brendan, you dedicated a song to Brendan. Let's talk about that song, and by the way, that song is going to be part of our tribute video. As I said, we're dedicating the show to Brendan's memory today, but talk about that song that you dedicated to Brendan and what that song meant to you and to Julie.
Yeah, you know, I wrote a song right after Julia. Julie called me on September 25th, which is a Sunday, and he passed on September 24th. So she called me in the morning to let me know. Again, we had become closer friends, and she knew I was one of the important people in his life. And you know, so when she called me, I got off the phone. I'm sure I cried. You know, like the way that I sometimes deal with pain and suffering and hardship and death and loss is by writing songs. You know, and it's you know, sometimes I can, sometimes I cannot. You know, like I don't put a lot of time aside to write music, although I enjoy writing music, and I lead a very busy life, you know, teaching, and I'm a family man, and you know, it's not about me anymore, and but you know, it's like I immediately sat down and just put pen to paper and just started writing the song, and it came out all in one flow, and sat down with a guitar. I think I brought the lyrics from home to the studio right here where I'm sitting, and I, you know, turned the computer on and just plugged in and started recording a basic version, and then I re-recorded the song and overdubbed. You know, I played guitar, I played piano, I played cajon, played violin, I played viola, I sang, I played a little ukulele, I layered the song. I just, you know, it was really just I had to do something special to show my love and appreciation for him, leave something behind for other people to reflect upon and to learn about, you know, his story, and to give Julie something also, something special. I wanted to dedicate, you know, show my love for him. You know, that was what the song was about, and you know, it was a cathartic sort of healing experience for me too, because I also had a friend a few years ago, a college friend named Mariana, and she also killed herself. She committed suicide, and I wrote a song for her, and at that time it was very, very painful as well, and it was a good way for me to work through the pain. And I haven't actually released that song, it's somewhere in the records, but you know, like, I guess, you know, through, you guys know me, Long Live Long Beach and the Sandy songs I wrote for the 11561 album. Same thing, the song We Got It All, about family, Refugee and Long Live Long Beach. Those are all songs I wrote about Sandy. So when these big, huge things happen and turmoil and emotional things come up, I tend to write songs to get through those moments.
Benoit, I think you saw this, but I think it would be important to touch on the fact that Julie was such a terrific mother to Brendan. Let's talk about the special relationship that Julie and Brendan had and the bond that they had.
Yeah, Julie loved and loves Brendan, and you know, I would see them together all the time, you know, and it's just such a shocker, you know, like out of everybody, you know, you would think, you know, like he seemed like a pretty happy kid, and you know, like, and Julie is a special person and a very loving person, so, and a cool mom, you know. And she makes jewelry, and she's also talented. She sings, and very fashionable, you know, beautiful woman. You know, for her to, I don't know, it was such a shocker, you know. And I got to know Julie more through this, and I got to know Brendan more after, because I spent time talking to Julie, making sure she was okay, you know, as okay as she could be, right? I wanted to be there for her, and I still am here for her today. And that's why it's just cosmic that I was literally, you know, I put the date in my calendar to send me reminders so that I could be aware of it. You know, it's not something you're constantly thinking of, but then I saw the reminder. Julie actually reached out to me too. And, you know, like, we intend on doing something private together to honor him, and invite some of his friends, his close friends. So like today, as I'm like texting her, I was leaving just to go on a lunch break, and I'm passing by Dunkin' Donuts, and boom, there's Howie waving me in with Rocco, and hey, come on in, and they didn't even know. You know, today's such a cosmic day for a lot of reasons. John Coltrane's birthday, Bruce Springsteen's birthday, like, there's a lot going on. And those are very influential artists on my writing and my life and my playing. So Howie waved me in, and he's like, "How you doing?" And, you know, he bought me a coffee. We were talking about the show, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, tomorrow is Brendan's you know, anniversary," and we started talking. And I was just texting with Julie, you know, and I was just talking to her. So we texted her and said, "Hey, is it all right if we do a little dedication show tribute?" And she was, of course, cool with it. And, you know, that's how this came about. I said, "Why don't you come back to the studio and let's do something. Let's do an interview. Let's do it." Howie had asked to interview me. I said, "Let's go to the studio," you know. So here we are. We didn't plan it.
Yeah.
And that's how it works, right?
Sometimes Rocco uses the word serendipitous, and I say sometimes things are meant to be, and it just kind of meant to be that I was with Rocco at Dunkin' Donuts. I see Benoit. I said, "Benoit, come in, have a coffee, and join us." And we're talking about Brendan. And, you know, last, I want to close with this, is that I never had the pleasure of meeting Brendan, but from all accounts, he was really a special kid and loads of talent. Terrific musician, great dancer, bubbly, outgoing personality. Talk about what Brendan was like.
Yeah, he had a great sense of humor. He was a funny kid, you know, and he was very intelligent. You know, he used to write in journals, and Julie has those journals, and she shared with me what was in them, and he was like totally into like really cool stuff. I mean, just like thinking about the cosmos and outer space, and
Talk about the thing he said, Benoit rocks, because that kind of shows his creativity.
well, there's a shell that Rocco took some pictures of that he could use in the video, and when he saw me play at Arts in the Plaza for the first time, he had only known me as that guy, you know, like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was up on the stage rocking out and playing my guitar and, you know, playing rock and roll solos and things. So he, that day, took a clamshell and he decorated the clamshell, and it says Benoit Rocks, and he signed it. And it was really, it was, that day it was special to me, and I had it and I saved it and I put it here in the studio. And then after he passed on, you know, it was even more special. And I just like can kick myself, and, you know, for not doing more. I mean, he seemed happy. He really did. He didn't show signs of that kind of dark depression. You know, he did not. So that's why it's important for us to reach out to each other and make sure, you know, people are okay. You know, I know people now that reach out to me and they mention suicide, and I'm not feeling like living, and you know, and I really take it seriously, and I try to do my best. You know, I'm only one man, but you know, I think it's I know there's a Long Island Suicide Crisis. The Long Island Crisis Center. And I literally gave that number to a relative of mine who's been suffering. And, you know, because she continually reaches out to me a lot. And I am not a psychiatrist and I'm not a counselor. Like, this is one thing I could do is, well, here's a hotline, you know? Maybe people need that hotline number.
Yeah, you know? And Benoit, and it's so true, and on a larger scale, and with September being Suicide Prevention Life, look at some of the things that have happened the last couple of years. We've had Robin Williams, this acclaimed comedian and superstar actor and Emmy Award-winning actor, took his own life, and just recently, in the last couple of months, I mean, I watch CNN all the time, Anthony Bourdain. You look at a guy who has the most idyllic life, who, and I always use the word envious, that, you know, he's visited over 100 countries. He looked like he had the most perfect life, beautiful wife, and yet a couple of months he took his life. Kate Spade, you know, big into the fashion industry, she took her own life. So, and then you look at, you know, Brendan. So it can happen to anyone at any time, and that's why we all have to be aware. And if anyone you know is suffering, don't take it lightly, and tell them to call a crisis center, a hotline. They're open 24 hours a day, because it can happen to anyone.
That's right. Yeah, there was another young girl in the area too, like after Brendan. I know her nickname was Nene, I believe, and you know, it's like, I mean, there's so many that are not reported or on, you know, not well known, and it's horrible, you know, like no matter what, there's something that could be done, people could be helped, things could be addressed, you know. So, you know, definitely if you're suffering, look up suicide hotline, just Google it and call. Don't be afraid to call.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Benoit. Our thoughts and prayers are with Julie, who's a fabulous mom. And Benoit, our promise to you is that on the two-year anniversary of Brendan Carr's passing, that we will never forget Brendan. And we thank you for sharing. And we know that how instrumental you were in Brendan's life. And we'll never forget Brendan.
Thanks, Howie.
You were kind, you were sweet, you were loving. In your mind there was pain, things were troubling. I knew something weren't right, but life isn't perfect. And I thought that you'd see that we all have a dark side and a bright side, a middle ground. And now you're gone. Just a boy, but you felt like a man. Blessed with good looks, talent, circumstances being what they were. You had a roof over your head and the love of your beautiful mother. Brendan, we love you, we'll miss you. You touched us and we will pray for you. Brendan, your story lives on, for others to know what goes on in a sometimes dark and painful world. us be a light to those who remain. We all get down sometimes. Who's to blame? The Lord has our backs, the reasons unsolved. So please don't take away the greatest gift of all, which is you. Brendan, we love you, we'll miss you. You touched us and we will pray for you. Brendan, your story lives on for others to know what goes on in a sometimes